Hello, Brenda Lynn. Good to see you, my YouTube sister. Thanks for coming. Today we are discussing a very important topic. This is continuing in our uh, series of disaster preparedness, and today we are discussing about floods. While floods do not seem like they're a major problem, they are indeed a major problem, with not just within the United States, but across the entire world. The entire world is affected by floods in one way or another, and is a very important topic. According to statistics that I have done research on, as I was saying, there is a concerning trend flooding death that has occurred within the last few years, according to the Weather Channel. Approximately 200 deaths occur each year from flash floods. Flash floods is the leading cause of death in the flood statistic. Texas is the state with the most flood and flash flood deaths in the past 36 years. Flash floods can roll boulders, tear out trees, destroy buildings, bridges, and scour out new channels. Rapidly rising waters can reach up to 30 feet or more. Furthermore, flash floods producing rain can also trigger catastrophic mudslides. Much people do not realize, but if you hear of a flash flood coming, it is important that you get out of there as soon as possible. Do not wait till the last second, because even in low amount of water, people do not realize the extreme that flash floods can cause. If people are not prepared for flash floods, they can die from it. So that is the topic of the day, and I will go more in depth in it in just a bit, but I do want to say hi to those coming in. Thank you for being here, Dagan Hills. Great to see you, brother. Brenda Lynn, thank you so much again for being here. This is a major important topic because, especially now with the weather change, and we are no longer in summertime, flash flood, it can occur with the weather being changing to winter and fall. During these personal seasons, you have a lot of flooding occurring from rainstorms and things like that. People are trying to switch over from the summer to transitioning into winter mode, but flash floods can occur at any time, whether it be summer or winter, whether it be fall, spring, etc. Flash floods occur sometimes without even warning. I know that I was actually experienced it myself. As funny as it sounds, in 1983, Rialto, California, they had a flash flood that caused 2 feet of water to enter our house. Even with, taking the proper procedures, we had a lot of water going through. I can still remember, even though at the time, 83, I was 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. I was 8 years old, but I still remember our parents making us sit on the couches and chairs that they were rushing through trying to get, things cleaned up, because it was a major disaster. 8 years old, you don't realize how major, and we were even playing, pretending to be like, at that time we were kids, so we were pretending that we were trying to avoid the sharks and stuff and staying on the furniture, and it was crazy weather, and nobody expected it to do what it did. It wiped out fences. It wiped out, there was no yards. It was just a lake, and it caused a lot of damage. But flash floods do just that. People do not realize how much damage they can do. Everybody in that in Rialto, California had yards and their fences up, and you couldn't tell whose yard started and whose yard ended at where because the floods were so bad. And I remember that because I still remember one incident in particular, two particular incidents. One was they had a hole in our backyard, and it was one of our dogs at the time was a German Shepherd mix, and he actually fell into the hole. She did, and a firefighter saw it, and he started to run. And my dad said, "Watch out for that!" And before he could finish, the firefighter, not realizing it, ran from one person's backyard to ours, and we had a 6-foot pole that he ran right into. So, like I said, with the flooding going on, there was no what yard started, what yard finished. All the fences, we had boarded fences all over the neighborhood, of course. They were all wiped out by the floods. And so, flooding is a very, very serious situation that people need to be prepared for because it is something that is, like I said, very catastrophic. Again, I'll just go over the facts that I would mention and show you some crazy information that I have researched and found out. Like I said, a concerning trend in floodings death has increased in the U.S. in the last few years, even with COVID. There are a lot of deaths have occurred. You've had Katrina, you had Hurricane Iris, and all them. Some people even went to the extreme in one state and put up signs saying, "Bring it on." Well, it brought it on, and it wiped out a lot of Houston, Texas. So this is a serious situation that people cannot play around with. Like I said, in the statistics, approximately 200 deaths occur each year from floods. And this is from floodsafety.com national life statistics. They say 76% of all deaths are vehicle related. Much people do not realize it, but with the vehicle, a flash flood occurrence, you always see these blockage where they'll say road closed. Well, people will go, "That water's not that deep. I can go around the barriers and keep going." Yeah, you can. But there's a problem with that. The car can be taken away at little as 2 feet of water. And on top of that, a person can be taken, swept off their feet and taken away in 6 inches of water. So even though people don't realize it, it is a situation that cannot be played with. Sad factor is that like I mentioned just a minute ago, Texas, they had, the flood gonna occur, and they had, flood warnings and hurricane coming, and people were like, "Oh, we can handle this. We got this." And they were, like I said, they had put up signs, "Bring it, Harvey, we can handle you." The sad factor is that Harvey wiped out a lot of Houston, Texas. And by a lot, I mean, I'll just give you a brief glimpse of it to show you exactly how bad it was that Harvey did in damage. This is the picture of Houston, Texas when Harvey hit. Harvey was not playing around. Harvey devastated a lot of Houston, Texas at that time. But yet, like I said, when it first started up, people boarded their windows up. They, were all set. And they put out signs. They spray painted their building saying, "Bring it, Harvey." Harvey brought it. And Harvey brought it very hard. You know, there were so many devastations that have occurred in flooding. In Harvey alone, in 2017, more than 100 deaths were included in Harvey. Hurricane Harvey was a devastating Category 4 hurricane that hit landfall on Texas and Louisiana in August 2017, causing catastrophic flooding and more than 100 deaths. It is tied to 2006. It is tied with 2006 Katrina as the costliest tropical cyclone on record, inflicting $125 billion in damage, primarily from the catastrophic rainfall triggered flooding in the Houston metropolitan and southeast Texas area. This made the storm the costliest natural disaster recorded in Texas at the time. It was the first major hurricane to make landfall in the United States since Whitma in 2005. Like I said, Harvey wasn't a joke to play with, but people still went out and put up signs, "Bring it, Harvey," and stuff like that. When you're given a warning sign, and yet the National Weather Association, along with Weather Channel, does try to give you a heads up. This is coming. Don't play with it. Be prepared, and then be ready for what has to be done afterwards. Like I said, you know, to stay safe during a flood, go to the highest ground up floor possible. If your skin comes in contact with flood water, make sure to wash it with soap and disinfectant water. You do not know what's in those waters. A lot of people came down sick. A lot of people were ill after floods because there was a lot of debris. When you have flooding not only carries debris from whatever is inside of it from the natural, but it also carries a lot of sewage, things, oil from the streets, from the cars, things like that. And the reason they say get out of there, get to higher grounds, is because, like I said, people in Houston, Texas would warn, evacuate the area. Yes, it floods a lot in the north. It does. But with Hurricane Harvey, everybody played around with it and said, "Bring it, Harvey. We can handle you. We're Texans." I know this because I've seen some of the aftermath. And I'm just going to give you a glimpse of it from somebody else shared on theirs. And this is, in fact, from Getty's image, but this will give you an idea on how bad Harvey hit. Not that one, I apologize. but I want you to see how bad this really was. All caused from a storm, flooding to be precise. This is the damage that was left in the wake of Harvey. As you can see in that image right here, and no, I do not own the right to this. This is the Getty's images. It shows you vehicles, buildings, debris from all sorts that was left. You can see houses that were trashed in the middle of this, trailers, all sorts of debris left by Harvey. Floods are not a joke. Be prepared. Know what to do. Yeah, people try to drive through 4 feet of water and their cars get swept away and they are drowned. They, like I said a little bit ago, with what Dagenhall said, he is very right about that. People try to do dangerous stuff during that time. And the sad part is the car can get taken away in as little as 2 feet of water. And 76% of the deaths are vehicle related. They're vehicle related because people try to go around boundaries, boundaries and roadblock signs and stuff like that. Oh, I can do this. And as you saw in that picture, those trucks didn't survive. Those houses did not survive the flood of Harvey. That's what makes it so devastating. Do not ignore the signs. Do not go through the road block signs, or around them. As I was saying, flash floods can roll borders, tear out trees, destroy buildings, bridges, and scour out new channels. Rapidly rising water can reach up to 30 feet or more. Another way they describe flash floods when they get really high is tsunamis. Flash flooding is a dangerous occurring situation, and now the weathers have changed, we have got to be more prepared, more now than ever. If people are not prepared for flash flooding, they can be a victim of it. And like I said, that is a sad number. When flash flooding you can be prepared and know how to respond if you have the right knowledge. Get to higher ground, avoid the flood area. If they tell you to evacuate, get out of there before the flood gets there. Because otherwise, you're going to end up in the situation that Houston, Texas was in. A lot of people boarded up their windows and then they stayed. The same with Hurricane Katrina. A lot of people stayed in New Orleans, Louisiana, when they were told to leave. And from that, the sad factor is that a lot of people had to be rescued off their rooftop because Hurricane Katrina came in and they stayed. And people had to be rescued. The devastation of a flood can be very detrimental if you're not prepared. It is a situation where you don't want to stay. You want to get out as quickly as possible if you can. Because if you don't, you're going to be in a situation where they're going to have to rescue you. And if they're rescuing you, that takes away time to rescue others that weren't willing to get out. And if they're rescuing you and others, that takes away time from them setting up blockage. And yes, people use sandbags to block flooding areas from continuing to flood further in. But they can't do that if they're having to go and rescue people because they're not willing to leave when they're told, get out. After a flooding has occurred and the flooding is over and it's time for cleanup, make sure to have the following equipment. Make sure to have gloves, waterproof boots. Make sure to wear masks because you do not know what airborne diseases, airborne illnesses are floating around due to the flood. And I always tell people to make sure if you're going to go back in, take a buddy. And the reason for taking a buddy is because if you have a buddy and something happens for some reason, and you have a buddy, you can be prepared. As example in this picture right here, there is a lot of devastating debris left behind. And with these buddies working together, they are cleaning up the area using squeegee to squeeze the water out of the higher ground area into the lower area. Notice they are wearing masks, helmets to protect themselves in case they get into an unstable structure. And yes, even though a place looks structured, it can be unstable. You go in there and you open the door and you walk in and all of a sudden, whoop, your blade went through the floor. Unstable. If you don't have a buddy with you, nobody will know you've been hurt. 2, if you get in there and everything looks stable, you check the floor and it's stable. You walk across, the door shuts behind you, and the building collapses. Somebody can get help if they're aware. Always make sure you have a buddy to help you. Always make sure you have the proper equipment. When flooding occurs to that extreme, you have no cell phone communication. Most likely the cell phone is either going to be tied up with 911 calls or tied up with no service at all because the cell towers have been wiped out by the flooding. And you have to be aware and have somebody there to help you in case. I also recommend that you wait till they say it is safe to go back in. Take what you can when you have to get out of there. As I started with the basic preparedness survival kit, have that when your time to go with all your information, with all your pictures that you documented of your belongings and stuff in it, and don't return until you're told it's safe to return. Because natural disasters, flooding especially, is a very serious situation that needs to be recognized. And therefore, that's what this series is going to continue to do. I took a break during the summertime, but I'm back on track, and I want to teach people what my channel is about. Yes, I do help people and drop the link. Yes, I do spread awareness on other situations. But Ranger 92308 main goal was not just to entertain, but when I started Ranger, the screen name Ranger, I rescued people. I worked with the American Red Cross. I worked with other entities to make sure that people were safe. But that's what Ranger 92308 is. And my series will continue on next Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific, with the following. Real quick, I want to say hi to my brother. Haven't seen in a year. Hi, Velocity Savage. Good to see you. Hope everything's going well, brother. Right? Exactly, Dagenham. And as my slogan was back when I was a CBer, and I still do radio communication. Where there's danger, there's Ranger. Ranger Danger at your service. This is what's coming up next week, everybody. Hope to see you there. Extreme heat. What should you do during times of extreme heat? How can you tell if someone is suffering from extreme heat? What should you do if you or someone you know is suffering from extreme heat? Come next Monday, and Ranger 92308 shows you exactly how to respond to extreme heat weather, what to do during extreme heat weather, and how to be prepared. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you then. Yes, extreme heat is another situation. A lot of people don't realize it, but when this last summer, which I won't go in depth on it right now, we had a 116-degree weather day here in Oregon. And there were some people that were having problems with it. Their AC wasn't keeping them cool enough. They were having all sorts of problems. And there are states when extreme heats happen that have brownout. How do you prepare? What do you do during extreme heat? And how do you respond to those victims of extreme heat? Come next Monday when I tell you exactly how to deal with extreme heat. Until then, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one. I am Ranger 92308. Thank you, each and every one of you that have been here. Again, I just want to say thanks to everyone that came in. Brenda Land, thank you so much. Dagen Hill, I'm Velocity Savage. Thank you guys so much. And as always, guys, don't be a stranger to the Ranger. I will see you on the next one. Until then, be safe. Have a good day.